Hello, wonderful universe. It's Jennifer here at Eureka Astrology and Healing, and today we are going to be talking about the Aries new moon. The Aries new moon is going to be on April 1st, 2022 at 1:24 a.m. Central Time. So just remember, depending on when you're located, it's going to be a little bit before or after, but this energy is going to be hanging around. And let's get into it because there's a lot to say, and I think it's going to be really dynamic for us all. And so first of all, it's Aries season. We are coming out of the end of the 12 cycle zodiacal calendar, and it's time for new things. This is the Aries new moon, and for me, it feels like the start of the new year because things are ready to get started. We're not focused in on so much about the nebulous, spacey kind of all-encompassing universal love and dreams like we were in Pisces. We still have some energy there, but it's not the main focus anymore. And so it's time to start something new. First and foremost, that's what a new moon is good for, but Aries is a starter. It's a cardinal sign and it's a fire sign and it wants to start things. So first things first, we're going to have a strong pull of energy to want to start something new. And maybe you have been dreaming it and feeling it and not quite sure or didn't have the energy. The energy is there. And if you've got that vision, go with it. And hopefully as time goes on, you sustain it, because Aries sometimes doesn't always want to complete a task, but this is something to get started. And also surround yourself with people who can help you get it completed if you tend to have more of that Aries energy where you want to start things but not finish. But let's talk about this chart a little bit more because there's a lot going on. And so how I see this is when you look at the chart, the planets are very consolidated on one side of the chart, and you see almost a train of planets. And the first planet, the locomotive of the train, is Uranus, and that's in Taurus, and it's asking for change about your value, your self-worth, what you value, how you value yourself, how you value others, how you use materials in the world, like, and also what you store. I think about this as like, what are you holding on to as far as materials to build things later? And you may be like, I need to let that go. Like, I need to live in a tiny house. I no longer want to live in a huge mansion, or, you name it. It's this reassessment, right? And that's pulling this new moon train here. It's like, all right, I'm asking for change first and foremost, especially around value materials. And then you go down the line and to the cars, and it's Aries then, and you've got the sun and the moon and Mercury there. And so that's the first party, I say, in this train. And so that's all about, again, like I said, change. And when I look at it deeper, not change, it's something new, but the change is going forward. Like there's the change is asking and then for something new. And we have that energy of something new. And also we're being asked to be courageous, to step forward, even if there's a challenge or if it seems like heroic. Like I said, Aries is a good sign for the hero. You might be being asked to step up and be brave, even if it seems like you may not win the battle. Like, it's time to do it, because if you don't step up, you will never know. And down the line, that can, have implications for a lot of times people will get depressed or sad or have regret or remorse for not doing things. And so instead of just saying, like, step up and step into it. And so when I look at those aspects of the sun and the moon, so they're conjunct because it's a new moon, and then there's Mercury, and that's not far away. So it's a pretty tight, conjunction here. And then also we've got Chiron in the head of these planets in Aries, and Chiron's been here for a long time. So, the sun and the moon and Mercury are all faster moving, so to speak, especially the moon and Mercury. And those energies that have come in fairly recently, Chiron's been hanging out there for like a year and a half around these degrees. And I'm going to talk about the Sabian symbol for this in a minute. And Chiron's the wound, where we're wounded. And so right now it's the collective energy of where we're wounded. So these are kind of getting highlighted. Okay, so where have we not been courageous? Like, maybe where do you feel defeated? Like, I just can't go on anymore. I don't have the energy to fight another battle, right? And or maybe you're not asserting your own very core needs. This is about very core needs. For survival's sake, maybe you just feel like, well, I just have to do what other people need me to do, and that's how I'm going to survive. And you feel like you're not actually getting what you need. Or you even started something, birthed something that you wanted to bring out into the world. The collective's been dealing with that. Like, how do I stand up for myself? How do I be a champion for myself? We've been feeling this, right? And so the sun's shining light on this. And then the moon is So that's more like our spirit, like we're feeling that energy inside of us at this time. And then the moon is actually, we're feeling these emotions like, oh yeah, like, man, maybe I haven't stepped up, or maybe, I'm stepping up too much. I mean, Chiron can be the opposite, where maybe we've been overly defensive, and then that shuts down our, shuts down our wall, and then we don't get to, enjoy all of life because we're shutting everybody out and everything out. And then Mercury is there too, saying, think about this. I'm thinking about this more. This is really on my mind. And so, we also, at this time, may have a lot of sharp speaking tongues, because Mercury is also talking, and Aries just cuts to the chase and is sometimes a little blunt. So be cautious of that. And so, I mean, what does that feel like, right? And so I looked at the Sabian symbols. I know I've been doing this recently, and I looked at the Sabian symbols for all of these degrees because I think they really tell a story. Once again, I think it's the person who intuited did a really great job on each of these degrees. And so the sun and the moon are at 11 degrees of Aries, and the overall symbol was the ruler of a nation. So a leader, because right, Aries is also a leader. And that's, again, something that may be coming up for you. And then the phrase that came out with this was power resulting from the formal integration of the collective desire for order. And so this is saying that, when Aries first comes out, it's just like, and it's gotta survive, and it's very intense, and it's trying to find its place in the world. And as these degrees go on in Aries, it's saying, okay, there's a little bit of survival. We still need to survive, but like, how are we bringing this together? So like letting the need for order come so that they can survive, right? And so sometimes bringing things together so that, as a collective, we can survive, even though Aries is very individualistic. And so another key theme is centralization of power. And it's a pretty intense degree when I think about what's going on in the world. Like, are people, giving things up or over or away to make sure that we have order, and feel like we're surviving? And so who or what are we letting lead us so that we have order and maybe feel safe? Like, are they really the right people? Are they really good people? And we have to ask that about ourselves too. Am I just creating order and giving away power or things, or doing things to, maybe overpower others to get that order? Is it really serving the collective? And that plays a little bit further into the chart, because there's a lot of energy in Aquarius, and that is asking us to still think about the collective and to sacrifice for the collective, so there is a better world. It doesn't have to be order necessarily. Order can be a part of a better world, but it's asking for the whole world to be taken care of. Like every person, every individual, every plant, every seed, everything, right? Not just a subset of people. So, and that energy is harmonious and feeding into it, but we're being asked to review our leadership, both in ourselves and others, with that degree. And then I looked at Chiron's degree, which was 12 degrees of Aries, and that phrase was a triangular shape flight of wild geese. So pretty much the V shape of geese flying. And why that, so they'd explain that degree a little bit more. Geese are considered very mystical in some cultures and very cosmic. And so the phrase was reliance upon ideal universal order. So, and that kind of brings in that Pisces energy, like, oh, there's just like an idea, like, yes, there's going to be perfect order and semblance. And it's good to have that ideal, because we have to have that dream and vision. But sometimes we don't see the things around us when we're focused in on the idea, like, yeah, it's all just going to work out. As maybe, as we talked about the degree before, rulership and authority stepping in just for the sake of security, and maybe not assessing what they're doing or we're doing while this is all happening. And then I also looked at the degree of Mercury in this, and it was a crystal gazer, and that's 9 degrees of Aries. And so again, kind of a little more of the mystical element, but development of the inner realization of organic wholeness. So if you think about it in order, first, we're thinking about a bigger picture and wanting wholeness. Again, organic wholeness. We want to be one. And then we have that ideal of cosmic order happening with Aries. And yet, but at the end of it all, we're asking for rulership as well, though. And what are we doing with these ideals? Are we making sure that we carry the ideal forward in how we lead and how we move this world as an individual and get our needs met, and yet make sure that it is not harming others. With Aries, sometimes Aries can be a little nearsighted and forget that there are others involved. So at this time, make sure that your needs are getting met and other people's needs are getting met as balanced as possible, all right? Look to the other side of the zodiac. That is Libra. Try to find some balance, but make sure you still get your needs met. That's the core here. But we, at this time, need to look at the leadership in our world, and maybe we, as individuals, need to step up and call people out, or we need to become leaders ourselves, whether it be locally or largely, but it's a large theme for sure. And like I said, with that Aquarius energy, we have Mars and Venus and Saturn there. And they're not making an exact element, it's not making an exact element to the planets in Aries, but it's kind of giving an overall gentle support to it. And so with those planets there, okay, what is it? It's unique expression. So that's something that's being called for, a commitment to uniqueness and your unique expression, and a desire and a drive to be doing that, right? And it can be done with Mars there a little aggressively. Some people may be coming on strong, so like, this is me, and this is how you just gotta accept this, like this, love this. And I mean, I think that can be a beautiful thing. But what happens with Aquarius is it gets a little in people's faces if it gets inflated, where it's not necessary, right? You don't have to, get in a person's face over and over again to be unique. You just need to be unique and shine that light. But there's something so much deeper, like we said, about the community. What's going on with the community around you? What's going on with the globe? How can we help? And even if it's in small ways, we're being asked to commit with Saturn there and to discipline, right? Like we may even have to sacrifice something. Sometimes Saturn is like, you got to give something up so that others may, in this case, because it's Aquarius, so that the whole may flourish. And it doesn't always feel the greatest, but where Saturn's at, it's at one of its homes. And so, it may be a little easier for us to get through and work with. It is not quite such a resistance. And then there's Venus saying like, yeah, this is a good thing. This is a good thing for everyone. It'll make things softer, feel better, and thrive. And then in between, so we've got, a focus on the collective and how is that, supporting, and then a focus on leadership, our leadership and our needs. And then in between, we've got the Pisces, which we talked about, and that's the dream. And it's both Neptune and Jupiter. And, Neptune is a higher octave. Jupiter, both these planets are co-rulers of Pisces. So like they're both happy, they're both at home. So there's still some dreaming happening. There's still some visioning happening. And Neptune's still going to be there for a little while, but Jupiter soon will move out for a little while. And so that energy will definitely lessen, but I feel like it's kind of peaking, saying like there's still a dream here. There's something more, there's something new, and it might not be coming quite out in the ether. I think we're feeling it, and maybe that's what's trying to be birthed, but there's still that dream. And also potentially that illusion we were talking about with Aries, the illusion of what we need to give up or give away to make sure there's order, to have safety, to security. So be mindful that you're not getting lost in the clouds and going like, oh, that's okay if I give this up, or that's okay if they do that. Try to make sure you're paying attention, but still at the same time, like, hold the dream and try, like I said, just kind of keep it focused instead of letting it run away with you for certain. With that, I think it's dynamic. I think it's powerful. And oh yeah, at the end of the train is Pluto digging things up. And like I said, it's just asking for us to transform again the authority in the world and how we are authorities in our lives. And it's different for everybody in everybody's chart, but that was highlighted a lot. That theme was highlighted quite a bit for the last few months, and actually the last few years, off and on. And I want to say it's a final purging of this cycle, but kind of a little bit like a final, like, what's got to go? What are you needing to change about how you present yourself as authority in the world, or how you maybe let others control you or be authority over you? And it gets so dynamic, but also like, what materials are you using to build things in the world? Again, a kind of another theme of materials. So, I think everyone kind of knows by now, if you've been paying attention to the astrological weather and yourself, what that is for you. But it's definitely kind of like the final purging. It's the end of the tail. And the one other aspect that I saw is that Saturn is squaring the north and south node. And so that's kind of like the old, well, I mean, it's the old kind of fighting the new when it goes to the north node a little bit. And so we're still going to be some resistance. There's maybe some resistance of the old ways of community, even because it's an Aquarius, versus the new focal point, which is Taurus, which where that Uranus is up at front, right? Saying like there needs to be some real change. And I mean, we're seeing it within the markets and how what's going on with the food chains, all these things, food supplies. It's we need to change things. It's not quite working to sustain this world and humans on it, and it's also not good for the planet and the animals on it. And also value, that's a huge thing. It's a that can be a regional, cultural, familial thing, right? Value is, and it can be a personal thing. It's influenced by many things, and has been shifts of consciousness of what is valuable and how you value things, but it's definitely changing it in dramatically. And in a few years, I think we'll really see what that means coming out the end. But I find it no coincidence that people are realizing they don't want to work 60 hours a week, and they don't want to be locked in an office, or they don't want to miss their families or whatever it is, just to work. And so, as they call it, the Great Resignation, it's no coincidence happening right now because people are reevaluating what they value. It's like, well, if I can get by on less money but enjoy being alive, like what's really more valuable? Like, is that money, or is that, the extra thing you need to buy if that's why you're working, a job that more? Not so much, I think, and people are really waking up to it because, just a few years ago, even 5 years ago, I can say that it was just kind of wavering, like starting to think about that 10, 15 years ago. It's like, nope, work, 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 work. That was the main ideal, at least where I come from, the general populace, and it's changing, and I am grateful because I think it is time for us all to really reconnect with the planet and each other. With that, I hope you enjoy this new moon. It's dynamic. Like I said, if anything, start something with passion, with vigor. You can do it with courage, with leadership. Have some fun with it and channel that dream and think about the collective. And I think it's going to be something really positive. With that, I'm Jennifer at Eureka Astrology and Healing. If you like what I do, hit like, subscribe. I have a website, Eureka Astrology and Healing, and you can see my services. I do tarot, astrology readings, wellness consults. I'm also an herbalist. So, come join me. Have a great day.